I have so much stuff I need to get done, but instead I'm sat here reading scary stories for the internet. Reading through responses today of what is the freakiest or creepiest thing that has ever happened to you. I was about 10 and I had a huge fear of someone being in my house, to the point where I wouldn't go to the basement because it scared me. But I am glad I had that fear, because one day during the summer I was trying to go to sleep and I heard a noise from above me and it freaked me out. I then noticed over the coming days that my room was really hot, and I thought this was strange because we had just got new air vents put in. My dad was checking them out and went to get some sort of tool when I saw the scariest image possible. There was a skinny man looking at me and my dad from the vent in my ceiling. I froze and pretended to not notice him, and I went to get my dad. And me and my 10-year-old mind was instantly thinking wrong with him out of the house, but I have 2 cats and was scared to leave them. So I grabbed a paper towel and a pen and wrote in my chicken scratch handwriting, "There is a man in my vent," but he couldn't read it and asked what I meant. And that's when we heard a thud. And he looked at it again and must have put it together, because he grabbed me and called the police. When my mum got home, she got to see the man being dragged out of the house in cuffs. Even though he was caught and I still had a somewhat happy ending, the image of looking up and seeing his face and being so petrified I couldn't move or scream still haunts me. I was alone in my house with my stepdad. I went to the bathroom. When I sat down on the toilet, that's when I saw someone trying to open the door. I pushed it and said occupied, but whatever was at the other side kept trying to open the door. I called my stepdad and heard him from the kitchen saying, "Yeah." At that point I was terrified. It suddenly stopped. I checked the whole house for anyone other than my stepdad. Didn't find anybody. Then I went to the other bathroom and then used it. Still don't know what the hell was going on the other side of the door. I see a lot of people saying that it was probably a burglar, a pet, or the wind. 1, I didn't own a pet back then. 2, my stepdad was in the kitchen, which is located right beside the hallway with all the rooms, including the bathroom, so it's impossible that anyone could have sneaked into the hallway without being noticed. 3, the wind can't turn a doorknob. I used to live in a 1-bedroom apartment with a den. In the den we had a spare bed for visitors or whatever. One night my boyfriend was super sick, so I went and slept in the spare bed. In the middle of the night I had what seemed to be sleep paralysis, where I couldn't move but I was seemingly awake. In that state I saw a dark figure walk into the room and just stand over me for a while, like the dark figure was right over my face. The next day I was very freaked out. I told my boyfriend and he asked if I was joking. The same night he saw a dark shadowy figure in our bedroom, pacing in front of the bed. He said he slept with the light on all night, which had explained why it was on the next morning when I went into the room. This happened about a year ago and we haven't talked about it since. We'd rather forget that entire night happened. 2 friends and I got bored one summer night and decided to drive up into the mountain spot that overlooks the town. It's a rough dirt road and we were in a VW Rabbit. We finally make it to a little clearing on the side of the road and pull over. There are no houses on this road for miles and we didn't see any other vehicles the rest of the night, so we get out of the car. It's pitch black except for the little lights of the little town at the bottom of the clearing, miles away. We're all kind of bullshitting as we get out and something gets our attention. We all turn and look at the same time and see this thing running through the woods about 30 feet from us. Now this thing looked like a person, except it was glowing. Remember those glow-in-the-dark stars you could stick to your ceiling? It glowed at about that intensity, so we watched this thing run, pushing branches out of its way and whatnot. We all get back into the car without a word and start driving off in total silence. About 30 seconds later, someone finally says, "What the fuck did we just see?" The best answer we could come up with, as crazy as it sounds, was we saw a ghost. All 3 agreed we saw the exact same thing. So a couple years go by and I'm with the older brother of one of my best friends and we're just shooting the shit. I bring this story up, expecting him to laugh at me, and he gets this shocked look on his face and asks if I'm serious. Apparently his teacher in high school had told them he saw the exact same thing run across the road in front of him one night. Made me feel a little less crazy. I work night shift in a hospital. I also work in the basement next to the morgue. Kinda needless to say, I'm somewhat used to weird things happening. Random objects falling off shelves with no one around, flickering lights even though we're on a generator, etc, etc. None of that is really creepy in my mind, and I don't exactly believe in ghosts. One night a few weeks ago though, around 3 AM, I heard this loud, horrid scream come from the hallway right outside. It sounded like a woman shrieking, like straight out of the movies, and it lasted for 2 to 3 seconds before stopping. It was quiet for a few seconds. I listened for a follow-up, footsteps, conversation, a thud. Kind of thought someone had collapsed. Nothing. Complete and utter silence followed. I waited a second before asking my co-workers if they had heard what I just heard or if I was going crazy. They heard. We were all apparently just stunned silent. I checked the hallway, which is long, and saw nothing. No one could have feasibly gotten far enough for me to not see them, unless they were running, in which case I would have heard their footsteps. And all of the doors in the hall are locked because it was a night shift and nothing is open, so they couldn't have escaped into a random room. I still have no idea where that scream came from. It's bone chilling. Whatever this was sounded like it had witnessed death. I can still hear the scream in my mind. I'm not easily spooked, but that was definitely something that still baffles me and freaks me out to this day. I have 2 stories to share. Till this day I can't wrap my head around what happened. Definitely still scares me. I was house sitting for my aunt a couple years ago. My cousin and I decided to sleep in her room. I'd work the next day, so we had gone to bed pretty early, about 9 PM or so. During the night I felt myself waking up a bit, so I looked over to check the time. I see that it's only 2:45, so I try to start going back to sleep. Then suddenly I hear what I can only describe as a loud demonic screeching laugh coming from the living room. My aunt's bedroom wall faces the living room, so the noise was definitely from inside. I was going to convince myself that it didn't happen until I looked over to see my cousin wide awake and equally terrified. We were so scared we called the police. It sounded like there was someone or something in the house. They searched the house and it was cleared. I felt so bad for wasting their time, but we were truly scared. I can't even compare it to anything. It was a demonic screeching laugh. Considered it possibly being an animal, but I have yet to hear anything similar. And the sound was in the living room, not in the backyard. I don't bother telling many people, because I have a hard time explaining what was heard because I'm still trying to make some sense of this. One night my cousin and I were in her room with the lights off. She was in the top bunk and I was on the bottom one. She had a stepping stool folded aside near her closet. I should add that there were no fans or windows open. As we are in the room talking, she stops to ask me if the door is fully closed. As I turn to check, we hear footsteps and the stepping stool being knocked over, as if someone had ran into it while running out. We freak out and turn all the lights on. She said she wanted to know if the door was closed or not because she saw a shadow. The door was not closed all the way. Well, currently there's some creepy shit happening to me. A couple days ago, my TV made a sound like it had just turned on, but it didn't, and the on-off light was still bright red. Then I looked outside my window for a brief moment and thought I saw a shadow disappear. Tonight at 3 AM, aka 30 minutes ago, my TV randomly turned on. We're talking literally 3 AM on the dot, no remotes near my bed. I'll often wake up with random scratches on my body, which are not from my cat, since I sleep with the door closed and she's not in my bedroom. And I can't scratch myself due to being an excessive nail biter. Short story, I pulled an all-nighter like 2 weeks ago. I genuinely laid in my bed for the whole night reading and watching TV. Then suddenly, at like 7 in the morning, I get a stinging sensation in my left leg. I look down and there's a long, fresh scratch on my ankle. Not gushing blood or anything, just a small, fresh scratch. No friggin' clue how it happened since I was just laying in my bed. My computer also turns on at strange times and logs in. I don't have a password on my computer, but you do have to use my keyboard and or mouse to get in. Nobody goes into my room except for me, not even my cat. I'm 99.9% positive I encountered my doppelganger. The lingering 0.1% is the fact that I wasn't obliterated on site like the theory claims. I was at a restaurant with my ex-girlfriend and she got up to use the bathroom. She returned a few minutes later and asked how I had got back to the table so quickly. I asked what she meant, and she said that if I had to use the bathroom too, then why didn't I just walk with her? Then asked why I was acting like I didn't know her. I was super confused and told her I had never left the table and that I had been waiting here the whole time. She laughingly called my bullshit and asked again how I got back so fast. According to her, I followed behind her to the bathroom, then gave her the cold shoulder when she made a flirty remark to me as I walked into the men's room. I once again insisted I had never left and was at the booth the whole time. She then told me if it wasn't me, then it was someone who looks identical to me. I decided to scope out the restaurant a bit. And sure enough, sitting at a booth about 6 booths away from us was a man who looked virtually identical to me. Seriously, we could have been identical twins. He looked up from his phone, met eyes with me, and we both gave each other a really confused look. We both realised we were basically looking in a mirror. Everything matched from our eyes, to our facial hair, to our hairstyle, to our physical build. If I sent him home in place of me, my family wouldn't be able to tell the difference. The fact that he gave me an equally puzzled, wait what look confirmed that he realised it too. I sat back down and ate with my ex and told her how freaky it was that this dude looked exactly like me, down to the shape of our nose. I pointed out where he was sitting and she stood up to get a peek, then sat back down and said, "Holy shit dude, that's you." Mary Dankmas 2.0 left before my ex and I did, and I tried to get a peek of him as he left. I'm 6'3", so that's a physical trait about me that's easier to pinpoint. Watching him leave, I'd say he was roughly 6'2" to 6'4", just in my height range. I know it was all coincidental, but good lord was it freaky. Wait, so did he even have like the same outfit as you? Because surely she would have noticed that he was in a different outfit. Maybe I'm reading too deep into this, I don't know. I need to stop. Right, well that was the last story. I actually need to go and be responsible now and get some shit done. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know and I'll make more. My socials are linked below, and yeah, I'll see you whenever I next see you.